have traveled a little farther to come to the Northeast area tonight to hear us talk about what's going good and also what can be improved in the county. It's not always about what's just going bad in Richland County. There are some good things going on in the county. In certain parts of the county, we've seen new businesses open, we see roads being repaired, we have rec leagues and parks such as this. Unfortunately, in other parts of the county, those same issues may have challenges to them and may need improvement. We've also seen issues where our infrastructure is decaying in certain parts of the county, where crime is rising in parts of the county. So you're going to hear us talk tonight about what's going good, but also what are the challenges that are facing Richland County and some possible solutions to those challenges. I encourage you, if you are on social media, to check in and let your friends know that you're here. That's the best way to get the information out. We need to make sure that we're sharing all of this information with our friends and our family. I would almost say it's your responsibility to be ambassadors and take the information that you're learning here tonight and take that back with people who could not be here with us. So please share that information on your Facebook. We will have a Facebook live stream, so you can share that stream. It will be on Gretchen Barron's campaign page. You can also tweet and Facebook the quotes or topics or things that we discussed tonight. So please make sure to share both on social media and back in real life with your friends after tonight. So again, thank y'all so much for coming tonight. We appreciate your participation, and we're going to start now with a fabulous panel of experts from across the district, and experts because they live in Richland County, just like you, and have opinions on what's going on in Richland County that they're going to share with you. Our moderator for our panel tonight will be our Richland County District 7 candidate, Gretchen Barron. Gretchen is a native of South Carolina and again a resident here in District 7 in Richland County. She has served as a local educator, state administrator for the 21st Century Community Learning Centers program at the South Carolina Department of Education and the assistant director of program development and grants at the South Carolina Department of Juvenile Justice, a consultant for the United States Department of Education and Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Currently, Gretchen and her husband James own and operate Purpose Vision Consultant, LLC. Its primary function is to assist new and existing organizations to successfully navigate in developing a foundation that will align with its program and financial needs. In 2005, Barron Academy was established, providing after-school programs, summer camps, and one-on-one tutoring, primarily to high-poverty, low-performance schools in South Carolina. In 2017, Gretchen was appointed by Richland County Council to serve on the board of directors for the Greater Columbia Community Relations Council, where she serves as the education chair. She's active in her community, as you can see, and serves on a wide array of executive boards, including Richland School District 1, Title Planning Committee for Burton Pack and John P. Thomas Elementary Schools, the View Homeowners Association. As I said, she's an Emerge South Carolina 2020 participant and on Junior League of Columbia. She has been an active member of Right Direction Church International for the past 16 years, serving as a minister. Gretchen is also a Kids Town lead teacher and the chair of the Compass Community Development Corporation. I thought this was really neat. Gretchen has her own personal motto: guts, grit, and grind produce greatness. So I'll now turn it over to our fabulous moderator for the night, Ms. Gretchen Barron.
Thank you, Melissa. So we're going to start. I just want to engage you a little bit into my campaign. I want to invite you in a little closer to why we're really here. Tonight, I've invited some real good friends, some new friends, to join us to have a conversation, a multi-generational conversation about the issues not only pertinent to Richland County District 7, but across the county. In a little bit, you're going to hear from each one of our panelists, and they're going to tell you exactly where they live. But it's more important, we can no longer in our county just focus on me and mine. We've got to learn how to be collaborative. We have to learn how to make sure that we address needs that are pertinent to District 7, District 2, District 8, whichever the district is. So, I was just kind of thinking this afternoon, when I was young, when I was a little child, I had great imagination. And with my imagination came some imaginary friends. And with those imaginary friends, they were some of my best friends. And it was just so great to have an imagination where my mind could run and explore great and wonderful things. That's what we're going to do here tonight. We're going to explore great and wonderful things for our districts, for our county. Because can you imagine a place that has roads that are paved perfectly that we can afford? Can you imagine a place where children can go to school in one district, in another district, and still receive the same services? Can you even imagine a place where we have health care, where we have affordable houses, where the crime levels are low? A growing problem that we have amongst our young people, and Pastor Chandler's going to talk about it, is gun violence. A growing problem with marijuana. We did phone banking last night, and we got a call, and when they said, "Hey, you gotta talk about this marijuana," and we're not talking about marijuana that's out in Blackwood or the other way in North Main. We're talking just right across the street in Meadowlake that we heard from the people last night, and we want to dig in to what's going on in our county. I'm here to serve the people of Richland County. Yes, also District 7, but there's things that need to be done. We can't do it without our community, and that's why I invited them here tonight. I have three main things in my platform. That's education excellence, that is having an active voice in the community that leads through transparency and accountability, and economic development that says, no, we're just not building houses anymore, but we're putting in infrastructure in place to make sure that we have a place and we have roads that are ready for these homes that we're putting up and these buildings that we're bringing in. So as one of my most favorite commentators said, let's get after it. Let's talk about it. Okay? So we've got a couple of things, and we're going to start here. We're going to start, I'm going to join the panel, and we're going to have them I'm going to briefly introduce them, but I've asked them to bring a passion point. And that is that thing that's just like, I just really need more action to be taken in our county. And that's a passion point. And with that passion point, we're hoping that we're going to be able to delve into some details and to be able to fill in the blanks of my platform so that when I'm elected as your councilwoman, I'm taking the things that the district and that the county would love to see. So we're going to start with Kayla Millette, and she is a network engagement manager, and she lives in District 7.
Hi, thank you for inviting me, Bridget, and it's good to be here. Thank you for creating this space. As Gretchen mentioned, I'm a network engagement manager. By the way, I work for South Carolina Women's Rights Empowerment Network, but I also am the founder and the organizer of a project called Black Women's 2020. So it's really hard for me sometimes to hone in on a single hot button topic. The project Black Women's 2020 is actually centered around the notion that Black women deserve to feel safe, seen, and supported, and that kind of spans across a lot of different issues. And I mean, physical safety, emotional safety. So I think if I had to choose a hot button issue, I think to me it's important that we have trauma-informed communities and trauma-informed systems of care that help to ensure that we experience safety, first and foremost, at all levels, especially for communities that are most marginalized.
Thank you so much, Kayla. Next I met this young firecracker at Benedict College a couple of weeks ago, and we have with us Faith Dupree. She is a student at Benedict College, and she lives in District 8. So District 7, she lives in District 7. And Faith, if you'll share your passion point.
Good afternoon. Evening. I've always been a long day. Well, good evening, beautiful people. My name is Faith Dupree. I am a senior psychology major. I'm also interested in cyber psychology. I am a senior. I will be graduating May 9th at 6 a.m. in the morning. Hallelujah! But, yes, as a senior, I have had the
test prep or the test preps and not just after school curricular activities, because we have the footballs and baseball, all of that. I'm talking about the students that need that tender loving care that is deemed the bad students. How can we fix behavior issues without having to degrade and demean students, as well as how do we reach that into a community effort, making sure that what's taught in school is also taught at home. That's one of the passion points for me, and I want to make sure that each student is heard and each student has their voice and each student is able to communicate what they're feeling, as well as each student has the ability to outreach to others' communities and feel that they have a common ground. It's not us versus them, but we are a collective people. We are global citizens, and it's important that we impart that into our next youth.
Thank you, Faith. I am not gonna comment, because anyone who knows, she hit my button right there. So I'm gonna keep moving, to my colleague here. We do a lot of time together. And that's Mickey Tangery. She's a commercial real estate agent, and she also does leasing, and she lives in District 8. Mickey, your passion point.
Thank you for inviting me here. My name is Mickey Tangery. I'm with Horizon Commercial, and I do commercial real estate leasing, so I help a lot of businesses open up around Columbia. And my focus right now is economic development in Northeast, which is really lacking, and there's so much opportunity for economic development, especially the Renaissance that was supposed to come here a couple of years ago. Richland County spent $9 million purchasing the Columbia Mall, majority of the Columbia Mall. And a lot of businesses, including myself, invested money in the area, northeast area, based on the promise from Richland County to come to that mall. And I represent hundreds of other businesses because I help them open up. So I see the concerns that we have in our community right now with northeast economic development. So that's what I would like to see.
This is really stretching me, but I'm not gonna comment. So we've had the privilege to already meet Melissa Watson, who's the Executive Director for Emerge South Carolina, my fearless leader. And she also is a resident of District 7. Melissa, I know it's gonna be hard for you, but pick one of your passion points.
Yes, so I am a lifelong resident of Richland County. Family has been here for the last century, so we have family throughout the county. And so although I'm a resident of District 7, I do have a vested interest in what happens in other parts of the county. And one issue that has been of concern with family members all the way from Lower Richland up to myself in the Northeast has been crime. And you know, I haven't looked at statistics, but it feels like crime is rising. We are starting to feel less safe in our homes. Have had family members experience vandalism, shootings, break-ins, and that's across the district. And not really sure what the response is, or what's being actively done to address the crime problems throughout the entire county. So that is an area that I'm concerned for, not just because it's home, but also for my own personal safety, is a concern now.
Thank you, Melissa. And then our last panelist for tonight is Pastor Chandler Bailey. He's a youth pastor, and he lives in District 1. Your passion point, sir?
Yes, first of all, since I am in 30, I'm blessed to be here. My passion point is gun violence and the education centered around it. In December 2019, Sheriff Lott said that the enforcement part is a band-aid for the problem. Lott said the education part is what's going to solve the problem. You aren't going to arrest your way out of this problem. He called for efforts in the community. That was December 2019. That same year was my first time as a clergyman actually presiding and facilitating a funeral. I had to do 2 funerals for the first time ever in the clergy. 2 young men who died from gun violence. My friend who came here with me, he's actually a victim of gun violence as well, but he's a survivor. I realized there's no education really centered around this towards youth. When I was growing up, you heard just say no. Before you even were tempted or saw a commercial regarding tobacco, you learned to say no. My kids come home saying, that's bad, they're smoking. And they have no idea of the actual popularity of smoking and doing drugs. They just know to say no. I can imagine what would happen if like the education around gun violence become contagious to kids at a young age, and we can inform them in a way before they hear any music get angry and out of control, they simply can be educated that gun violence is not the way to go. I believe this epidemic needs to be controlled.
So that's where we're gonna start. We're gonna start right there. A couple weeks ago, I had the privilege of sitting down and meeting with Sheriff Lott, and one of the things that we really talked about was prevention programs. And in our county, our prevention dollars have been cut tremendously across the board, and it's just not our county, but it's a statewide epidemic. And as an educator, one of the things that I know is that if we teach our children and they know, this is just not bad, but why it's bad, we've kind of steered away from the why and addressing those things with our community. And so I want to start there because in not only what came out of our conversation, my conversation with Sheriff Lott was that District 7 fuels the crime rate for Richland County. Yeah. I'll say it again, District 7 fuels the crime rate. And then, so my friend Pastor Dolores here, we've tapped into a community in our district that helps with those numbers tremendously. And we've made some decisions that we were going to address these needs as a community and partnering with her church, and not only just waiting for me to be elected, but let's go and do some things right now in the community. So knowing that Richland County falls well above the state level and the national level averages, I want to talk about a little bit. If you could create a program that would address those crime issues, whether it's crime prevention, I'm even tag in there drug prevention, because I do think that there is lack of programming right in our subdivision. Over the last 3 weeks, I have the privilege of being the HOA president, and so people feel the need to let me know what happens, as if I can fix it. I try real hard. But the last week, I think we've had over 12 break-ins. And it's to the point now where we're having break-ins where literally we're just not checking to see if your door is open. Now we're breaking your windows in. And so, whether it's the guns, the break-ins, the marijuana, we're all being impacted by it. And I want to talk about our youth. What type of programs do you feel would be important to transcend from one district to the next district to create a community effort? Anybody can jump in here.
Like I said before, I am a college student, so around me is a lot of violence. But the beautiful thing about being in college is we make sure that we are agents of change. We make sure that we give individuals an opportunity to become greater and brighter. We have individuals who came with a 2-something GPA and leave with a 4.0. So I think the way to attack the issue is to look at the individual, look past the fault and find the need. What is actually going on? Why are you doing these things that tears down your community? A lot of the times that I've seen with individuals, I volunteer in my spare time. A lot of times when I ask somebody, why do you have that record? Well, their answer is, I have to feed my family. And how many of you know that the minimum wage in South Carolina is $7.25? Many of these individuals that are turning to crime are working on a minimum wage, having to find 2 and 3 jobs. A lot of the times in these spaces, you aren't allowed to get over a $7.25 job. So if we are going to attack the crime issue, we have to attack minimum wage. We have to make sure that these individuals that come home from prison who are reformed, make sure that they have a greater reentry program, understanding that they are able to provide for their families in adequate ways. A lot of these people that come back from wherever they have spent their time come home to total families, and you've taken that breadwinner away from that family. Not not excusing the behavior because the behavior is wrong, but what we need to do is find alternative ways. Find ways that are trademark, or let these individuals learn trades and let them allow them to work in these spaces without bias.
So I'm also my HOA's president, and I also hear a lot of the things that happen in the community. So I'm fortunate in the sense that I know my neighbors. My neighbors don't know my neighbors, and I think that's part of the problem is that it's a lot easier for people to come into a community and break into homes when we don't really know who actually lives in that community anymore. We are not empowered to say anything or to report what's going on because we are kind of in an age of we mind our own business and we don't talk to our neighbors and we don't wave to our neighbors. And so I'm not sure if a neighborhood watch needs to come back or something where we're engaging at the community level and the neighborhood level. I think for neighborhoods like mine that have an HOA that engages with neighbors, we're a little bit more fortunate that we're able to report these things, we're able to track them, we're able to empower our neighbors to let us know what's going on. But I know there are a lot of communities that don't have that infrastructure. And even with the infrastructure we have in our small, we're like a 70 home community and we still experience break-ins, car break-ins, something as simple as kids coming around and egging the cars, or other kind of crimes that we've experienced, which then escalate into bigger crimes. So I think by us being able to monitor, report the smaller crimes, we can kind of prevent the bigger crimes, but we need to enable our neighbors to feel empowered that they have someone who's watching their back and someone who's there for them, and that this is a neighborhood problem, not just an isolated problem. So being able to bring back some neighborhood level organizing, I think would at least help, maybe not prevent all the crime, but at least solve and address some of the crime once it happens. Because I can't tell if the crime, or at least the petty crimes that are escalating, if they're being caught when it's a petty crime, or is it having to escalate to something larger before we're actually getting attention to what happened.
Yeah, and I think that what I jotted down was it's time for us to embrace community again. You know, yes, I am my brother's keeper. It's very important. You know, the day we shun away from HOAs, we don't want HOAs because we don't want fees, we don't think, but there's nothing wrong with just a sense of community. And as being the HOA president, we have National Night Out. So I pose to our community, let's have National Night Out year round. What that says is now we're putting the spotlight on our community 365 days of the year. So I'm not just sitting in my house, but I'm walking my cul-de-sac and I'm going across the street to my neighbor and I'm saying hi, and I'm gonna say, hey, I'm gonna call you and let you know that there's a strange car sitting in front of your yard when you're not home. It goes back to, I think that we have, as a county, we have drawn lines, and so that we have districts. Now, I just stay right here in my district. Nobody really cares about, what's going on in Lower Richland. I'm only focused on what's going on in Northeast. And so as a county council, we have structured to be, this is my box, this is my world, don't ask me about anything else. And it's time for us to be friendly again. It's time for us to care about our neighbors, to embrace it. Faith mentioned also re-entry programs. I go back to my conversation with Sheriff Lott. He told me, when I asked him, I said, as a councilwoman, what is one program that I can do to help the sheriff's department? He said there are no re-entry programs in District 7. However, we are fueling, I go back to my original statement, we're fueling our crime rate. So now, if our district is fueling crime rates, then what that says is that they're getting arrested, they go to jail, and then they come back to our district and they do it all over again. But if we had those trade programs and we had that community touch, that we had organizations, churches. I'm fully engaged with churches right now. We're worshiping in the district every Sunday. And it's just not that I don't have a church to go to, but it's because I want churches to be engaged in this conversation. And if we could partner with churches, churches are usually open 2 days a week, right? Wednesday and Sunday, but yet we've got these fabulous buildings that we're not utilizing for our community. What's wrong with bringing in a trade and letting someone use your facility so that we can better our community? Because if we don't put the resources back into our community and invest in our people, then they're gonna do one of two things. They're gonna move away and go do better somewhere else, or they're gonna stay here and wreak havoc and raise holy hell all day long. So we've got to really go back to community. I don't wanna leave anybody, I had to jump right in there because you hit a passion point for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to piggyback on Faith's plan about re-entry thing. I did apartment complexes for about 15 years, and one of the main issue I saw was people would come to me to get an apartment, but they haven't been able to get a home for 6 months, a year, just because of their record. And I think it's very important to really partner with a lot of apartments or housing places to allow people to look at their record, what it was, how long ago it was, and kind of more look into it and give people a chance. Because if people can't get a house, people can't get a job because of their record, they can't move on, they cannot adjust back in the society. Housing was a big issue that I saw, and people cannot get an apartment because of their record.
I don't know that I have the answer for programmatic perspective. I've built programs with young people specifically, not necessarily people who are involved in the system. But one of the things I do know, like from a program planning standpoint, that a lot of us should become guilty of is we get together and want to plan these programs and want to talk about what people need, and we don't access people. So one of the things that I would say is necessary is go talk to people in the system, right? Who created these, who committed these crimes, who we want to figure out, what the root causes are. The other thing is, I think there are people doing work, like my good sis, Zakia Esper, who works with young people, just sowing seeds into the middle. A lot of these kids have been involved in the system one way or the other. And she doesn't work with them just from intervention or diversion perspective. She works with them from again, when I talk trauma informed, she works with them from a holistic perspective. So as a parent, I appreciate you saying not just telling kids what not to do, but tell them why not to do it, but also not just centering the crimes or centering the acts, center the kids, help them see who they can be and where they can go. And I think if we move beyond people planning programs who just want to meet members or write grants so they can build and get good photos for their websites, if we have real conversations around what programming looks like. And that means involving community and engaging the community in discussions, and not just the people who are comfortable coming into meetings. We have to literally go out there and talk to the folks because they're the ones who have those answers.
And that's why we're talking today. This voices and viewpoints all day long. And that's really where this came from, was that we wanted to take, what we think is great, and then hear from everyday constituents, okay, is this good, is this not good? And then working from there. Pastor Chandler, you had?
Well, yeah, one last thing I was gonna say from the point of adolescent research. Another note that I found out from just hearing reflections from Sheriff Lyle is that the Richland County Police were looking for actually gangs, they were looking for help. When in 2019, while all these murders heightened for young people and youth, they couldn't find them. They realized that the culture is a gang culture, for lack of better words. And so I was thinking about the concept of like, what do we do now that we're dealing with a culture that we can't stereotype? I mean, there is a stereotype with gun violence, but you can't stereotype it to, oh, this is a gang here, or this is a gang here. I mean, in my district 1 is rural and it's urban. I mean, you can have a kid who has a great upbringing, whatever those stereotype norms that make you feel like are deemed successful, whether it's 2 parents in the home, finances, but they can be connected because of the issues of the district and just people in general. They can be connected to someone and get involved in something. So we're dealing with a culture here. We're not just dealing with, just like you said, the interventions are always important, but the programming now has to be like very strategic. So I was thinking, how can we engage culture? And on that note, lastly, there's actually a rapper out there who did like freestyle and art and spoken word. He basically broke down the whole political strategy from the start to the finish as far as how you should vote. You should get votes. Don't just vote for the president, vote for your council, vote. Like he broke down all the legislators and he was able to educate young people what's really going on in politics. And that's the same type of culture that's educating young people how to be violent, how to get into the drug business. They're not learning these things from like conversations only, they're learning it from culture. So like you said, fear demobilizes, and we have to jump into the culture and jump into the conversation.
Okay, well, I definitely appreciate everything that you guys have said, and I really want to harp on the point of making sure we meet the need, because a lot of the times when we're in spaces, especially older generations, we become so programmatic that you have to have a structure, and then almost it becomes cheesy. And you guys remember the Dare, the Lion? I promise you, our generation has let him down. Because it has become so cheesy to the point, just say no to drugs, kid. And nobody really wants to like just get a bear anymore. Nobody just wants a t-shirt. I wanna know why we're the generation and the generations behind us, we wanna know, we're not just gonna take, oh, the stove is hot. We wanna touch it for ourselves. So, I was that kid too, where I found myself getting into situations that I shouldn't be getting into. But I found out real quickly that I wasn't about that life. But in going into these programs, let's make sure that we give these individuals time to speak and time to be heard. Don't just create a program and just allow it to be shuffled along. I like what you said for the individuals that just go to take pictures. How have you impacted that life? Can your students or can your individuals that have gone through your program, can they write you a letter of recommendation? Can they speak to how you've impacted their life? Can you honestly say that you have moved these individuals along, and not just the bright kid that you knew that was going to be a bright kid? What about the hard-headed kid that you had to tell sit down 4 or 5 times? What about that kid? Because it's so easily, especially within the mentorship organization that I was blessed to have started, that I dealt with the hard-headed kids. That's the ones that I wanted, because that's the ones that I felt needed the most love. And all of my students ended up on honor roll. All of my students were able to say, Miss Faith, I had a bad day. Talk about it, baby. What's going on? And allow for students to just be themselves. Now, I'm gonna correct you when you're wrong, but allow people to grow. And it's okay to give them a pat on the back sometimes. Meet each individual where they're at. And if you can't particularly do it, find someone who will.
And I think, Faith, that's a great segue to one of my main passion points. Probably one of the reasons why I get up every day, well, yeah, one of them. And that's education. And so we have a crisis on our hands with just finding that teacher that you just described. I want to coin that teacher as a teacher that is qualified to teach me, but yet cares enough to address my life. And part of the backstory with this panel is that it's multi-generational. So I am a line by line. I hired 2 years ago my first employee who had purple hair. That was a culture shock for me. You know, that's just not what we do. It's black, it's brown, it's blonde, you know. That's what, you know. But she had purple hair, but she was good at what she did. And that's a generational thing. And so even down to, we talk about purple hair, we talk about, you know, dreads, we talk about piercings, we talk about all those things. But when we are talking about going outside of our generation to be able to care for our students, how would we address, if you had to create a plan to go say, hey, I need a teacher to come work in this district, and if you were recruiting the teachers, and keeping in mind what your premise for your generation but also keeping in mind our little students that's in the classroom. How would you recruit that teacher to come work in Richland 1 or Richland 2?
I mean, I would ask why come live in this area at all? I mean, when you're looking at how Greenville is growing, when you look at how Charleston is growing, and outside of work, you know, yes, we spend a lot of hours at work, but they also have to live in the community and be in the community. Do we, and I say this as someone who loves Richland County and would not want to move anyplace else in the state, do we have a county that's set up so people actually want to move here and live here? You know, it seems that we have a brain drain going where people are graduating college or, you know, graduating high school, leaving, and they're not coming back. And so why are people not coming back? Why are people not staying? You know, fundamentally, why do people not want to live in Richland County, but they're moving to other places like a Greenville or a Charleston? You know, do we have things here for people who are young in their careers that want to actually live here and build a family here?
Anybody else have a plan? I do think that we're missing some things here. I don't wanna jump, but I'll jump to my next question, and that is economic development. And so I have this great plan that I'd love for us to be able to develop North Main, Fairfield Road, in attracting businesses to that area. We've got woods, we've got, vacant buildings, and Mr. Jameson, he was unable to join the panel tonight, but he owns Red Rooster. And that restaurant is just right next door here to us, and it's the light in this community. It's a nice establishment where your family could go and eat. But the unfortunate thing is, outside of chain restaurants and chain stores, we don't have anything like that in our community. And if I was looking for a teaching job to teach in this area, we'll say John P. Thomas, Arden Elementary, Keenan, and I wanted to live in the community, and that's one thing that we're supporting, is that we want to live, work, play, and worship all in our community. Would we have that? And I don't think that we do, because we have lots of vacancies. And so I want to talk about economic development. With economic development, I'm not talking about building more homes. I'm talking about looking at infrastructure to make sure that we have roads in place that would be able to hold the homes, and the people and the traffic that were coming. So Mickey and I had lots of conversation about the Columbia Place Mall Renaissance. Just like Mickey, my husband and I, we took our summer camp there 3 years ago thinking, oh, this is great. We're gonna lock down and we're gonna stay, we'll expand and do our business there. 3 years later, we're there and they're not. So this is an ongoing challenge of problems that we have in our community. So when we address economic development in our community, what do you want to see the council do to spur that thrust of bringing business? And it doesn't have to be big business, because I do think my pastor said Sunday, we're no longer small businesses. I'm just the local business owner. So because I think that I want to be big real big one day, right? So with that, local businesses, how do we bring that local dry cleaner that doesn't exist in District 7? How do we bring that? How do we spur that economic development in this area and to other districts across?
I think it's very important, like as a business owner myself, and I represent hundreds of other businesses, my tenants, what we have noticed, it's very hard to open up a business in Richmond County as compared to Lexington County. I'm just doing two comparisons because that's where I've noticed recently. In Richmond County, it would take you months to sometimes go through some approval, zoning, planning, because they want architectural drawings, engineering. gotten me approved within 3 days of a big project. I promise you, in Richland County, it would have taken me 4 months. And this is real. And this is, hundreds of my tenants face this problem every day. And eventually, a small business will shut down because they cannot afford to spend thousands of dollars in regulations which are not, it's important, the safety is important, but it should be able, people should be able to survive. And I think not just putting the plans together, we should get county involved with that. The planning department, the zoning department, how the real businesses are facing problems. Because I don't think they really know that part of it. There are OBOs, there are a lot of organizations, but they don't really deal with the zoning department. They don't really deal with the planning department. So that's what the problem of seeing with businesses, business development, economic development in Mission County.
Let me ask you a follow-up question, Mickey, and that is, so we're talking that we need to get the council more involved with streamlining the approval process. But with that, and we know that there are workshops out there that the county provides for business owners, the city provides those, and they do a great job in that. What are your thoughts about hosting workshops to talk about that? Because they tell you how to start the business, they tell you what the licensing that you need, they tell you all those things that you need, but streamlining the process to say, hey, this is step 1, 2, 3, 4.
But they show you the path, but the Richland County itself is not involved. What I'm talking about is where the business office is, the zoning department, planning department, because they are the ones who set the rules. If you're changing from an office building to a retail, or a retail to an office, which is not complicated, you're not opening a restaurant, you're not opening, anything complicated in that, they require whole architectural drawings. That can cost thousands of dollars. They can require the whole bathroom to be changed and tore down to an ADA, just because you're changing from an office to a retail. A simple change, they require all of that stuff. And a lot of times, my recent tenant, she paid rent for 8 months, and she paid a lot of money on rent, and she finally gave up. She backed out of her lease because she could not hold up. She paid $42,000 in rent. Because it was a big space. And she finally shut down. She never opened up.
You still got a lease.
So that's like the real issue. And she is a very, very, established business owner. She knows the process, but she could not get past the regulations. So it's not a newbie.
Is there any incentives for opening a business? Because I know, like, in my generation, everybody was a side hustle, so a lot of our stuff is online. We do Instagram, we have, and then Amazon pretty much runs the world now. So, are there incentives?
Not from county. Not as far as actually putting your business in brick and mortar. Because the regulations that are in Richland County are not in Lexington County. So it's so much easier to open a business over there. I have tenants who would lease a space in Lexington County and they would get licensed in 2 days. And here in Richland County, not everybody, but one of my tenants after 8 months, she shut down.
And so I think that even with the incentives, that is something that we should really dig into a little bit, because we know that there are incentives that are being given for big business.
Oh, yeah.
And again, I'll say it and say it and say it. As a local business owner, I just believe that we should be investing into our community and into our businesses. I made a stab, I think, in one of the videos I said, I did a few months ago, is that I'm of the opinion, and this is my opinion, it's no science behind it or no study, but I'm of the opinion if we probably got some local businesses to fix our roads, we might be a little bit ahead of the game. You know why? Because we live here. We want that road. We want the road hardscrabble road to be fixed because it's on our way home.
Right.
You know, we have a vested interest. I don't know about you, but when I'm on board with something and it's mine, I care about it just a little bit more and I watch it a little closer. You know, whether it's a new car, whether it's my children, you know, my new shoes, whatever it is, I'm gonna watch it because it's mine. I have a vested interest, and I think that we need to start looking as a county. We really need to start looking at how can we make our local businesses put them on the same playing ground as these big businesses. And I think in the with homes, we've done a great job because we've got Mungo Homes and we've got D.H. Horton, D.H. Horton. We've got some local companies that are really coming on the scenes as far as building, but that's not economic development. That's housing. So they're really fueling the challenge that we have when it comes to our roads. And I wanted I'll close the panel discussion with this last question. We're located here in a Parks and Recs building. It looks real good. It's a nice facility. But what I know by attending some of the local commission meetings just recently, they put an order in to take out some of the old equipment. So now this community center had exercise equipment and things like that. It's no longer offered because now that equipment is outdated. And the question was, should it be replaced? Our facilities, our Parks and Recs facilities, we built new playgrounds. We did a great job. They look wonderful. My son thanks me. You know, we've even gotten some new baseball fields. But we've got fields now for Pop Warner football. But what about the other sports? What about those other sports? Basketball is great. But, you know, hey, what about that soccer, that lacrosse? Something that is going to expand the knowledge of children and of young adults. You remember the day of midnight basketball leagues that adults participated in? Where are those now? Because just as many adults want to bounce a ball or pass a football as children. I want us to talk a little bit more about the services that you would like to see in your local recreation center.
I will let you speak on that. I believe exposure is everything. I had the privilege growing up as a young person playing multiple sports. My parents got me involved with track, football, baseball, soccer. But one thing about soccer that exposed me to was other cultures and other races and other nationalities. And I was able to actually learn from their point of view. They exposed my mind to not just funneling my mind towards NBA or NFL. And there's nothing wrong with sports like that, but exposure is very important, even when it comes to education. I even believe eventually economic empowerment on some level when it comes to options. So I would love to see some soccer programs. I would love to see some baseball programs. I believe they have some for younger ages, but certain sports attract, you know, different types of even business and vendors, and even just create more of a different style of community approach. It's sad. I'm hurting up in here a little bit because I keep thinking about all the fights and shootings I heard when it comes to those pickup basketball games, and I'm sitting here like, okay, like how do I talk about these options without going into what's really going on? And so I just realized that maybe some other solutions might create more conversations, might create more community partnerships with other coaches, other mentors. And to what you were saying earlier, I had people like you all my life who helped me through the way. And I want to say this real quick because I'm passionate about this. You please stop me. Because it's all mixed together. I had a troubled high school season. I have a master's degree now, and I'm believing to pursue a PhD eventually. But I had people who were advocates. But exposure through soccer, exposure through different sports, introduced me to advocates who reinforce education values. So I believe those right coaches, those right sports can introduce some young people to alternative mentors they may not find in their community. Because like you said, that person's out of the home, that breadwinner's out of the home. Or that example may not be there. They can find an example in the coach, they can defining example is someone that's outside of their demographic.
I definitely appreciate you. And even in that, I feel that for people kind of sort of just like me, I didn't inherit the sports gene, you know what I'm saying? My parents, my dad, he was in cross country, track running. I was the one that passed out water bottles. That was me. So, my passion growing up with my uncle, he introduced me to music, and I'm talking about that feel-good music, the one that, like, where your aunties and uncles look at you like, what you know about that? You know what I'm saying? So with me, I love, my thing was music as well as poetry, learning how to put your emotions into pen and paper. And there's something about pen and paper. I know, like, we have tablets and everything like now, but when you really need to feel something, that pen and paper feels so good. And I feel it's crazy because one of my freshman students, we were talking about how where she's from Cali, and they do a lot of poetry slams, and they have different they compete across the nation. And I was like, what happens if we gave people from down the street something to say? What if we gave them the words to articulate what they were feeling? And I feel as though that we need to create more programs like that, to allow people to explore their artistic abilities, especially in lower income communities. We don't have time to explore those. Everybody's like, you need to get you need to be a doctor, you need to be a lawyer, you need to do something to get that money. But let's take a step back and allow children to be children.
So, I recently took a schooling class at Drew Wellness. And Drew was a wonderful facility, and the classes were great, but Drew wasn't my first choice. I was actually looking for swimming classes on the northeast side of town where I live. And the only two centers were private centers. They weren't, county council, they weren't county parks and recs, and they were 3 and 4 times the cost of what I paid downtown. And so for me, with a car as an adult, I'm mobile, I'm able to get downtown. But thinking about something as simple as swimming lessons, I shouldn't have to drive 20 or 30 minutes across the county to be able to access something when there are several parks within, a 10-mile radius of where I live that don't offer things like that. And it was remarkable to see because when I was there, the little kids who can swim much better than me, they have a whole swim team there. So, these are robust services that people in the community will use. It's just you have to drive 20 to 30 minutes across the county to be able to afford the classes, whereas in our community, it offers.
We have a similar situation with our younger son, trying to get, well, both of them actually, trying to get swimming lessons. And like I said, there's nothing here without having to pay an astronomical amount to get the services that they need. So, panel, thank you so much. This has been some good information. Now it's your turn. Many of you may have come with that thing that you want to discuss or that you would like for us to address. This is your time. Please feel free to jump in here and ask your question. You can address it to myself or any of the panelists.
I have a question as a full-time entrepreneur and someone who is actually looking for a space. So I guess maybe this will be a question for you. I have looked at many spaces, and when you mentioned Richland County versus Lexington County, well, Richland County is my first choice. I'm really considering Lexington County. Something as simple as a business license. I don't think people realize that not only do you have to have a Richland County business license, but if you're in the city limits, you have to have a City of Columbia business license, and in part of your district, Gretchen, you may have to have a Forest Acres business license. And so it becomes very complicated and very cumbersome. So I'm curious to know, are there any streamlined methods that I don't know about, or is this just a, go to Richland County and then you go and fight with Forest Acres and City of Columbia?
I'm talking about the actual building, Richmond County, where the businesses go to. Maybe we should have more people welcoming small businesses, somehow making it easier for them, not confusing
this form, we need that form, this person needs to sign, just kind of back and forth. So one of the things that I think that I could commit to is to really to work with not just, Richland County, their business and procurement office, but also the City of Columbia, OBO, to be able to package something, because we say that we want to embrace new businesses and that we want to invite them in, especially in this North Main corridor. But if we're blocking them out through the process and through the red tape, then why would they come and do business with us? So Tori, I'm up for the challenge to be able to try to package that so that we can support, local entrepreneurship not only in our district, but in the county. Is there any other questions?
I have a question. I appreciate how we're trying to network and work together to be a source for our younger generation. But I'm fully aware that we cannot outsource care. And I don't know that we have, how do we get information to parents who may need better parenting skills? You speak about education with guns and weapons and what may have you. So I'm thinking about that, but certainly we can invest in the children, but I don't know that we given a solution, if there is one, even if we know one, like you said, you disappointed the lion, and we started with the kids and in the schools, but I don't know the solution. That's why I'm asking you all. Like, where is it that we can source the parents so we're not really outsourcing them? I think we'll gain a percent of our community by, the children are working with our youth, and that needs to happen. But I don't know if that's the only answer. Like, how do we get with it? Does it start with, I believe you said, we need to get into communities. Is it as practical as knocking on doors? I mean, are we forgetting just the simplicity of community means face-to-face again? What are we missing really that we're not, so that the resources get in the proper hands? Is that
I think that's a great question. One thing we do, our youth ministry called Epic Student Ministries, we created a parent community group. We found it to be very effective. Like, I am able to sit back as a youth pastor and not have all the answers and watch these parents provide answers to each other. The biggest thing is they're not parenting alone. I think a lot of that fear comes in when you feel like your child is the only child doing this, or your son or your daughter is the only one going through this situation. And when you started thinking about it, I started thinking about the schools. Like, if there was a way on these district pages where you can join the parent community of this school. And now a parent, a mom, a single mother, or whatever situation, you go in there and say, hey, I'm looking for a mentor around my son. My son's misbehaving. Is there any husbands out there, any dads out there who have time to play catch? Or what? I mean, who knows the conversations that could get started in our district if parents could find a way to connect each other. And maybe even breaking it down to like schools. I don't know if I'm answering your question, but just maybe another method.
Yeah.
Like making it normal, like representing what normal is. Like, you don't have to do this by yourself. Oh, all of our parents are logged in over here. We do it with Facebook groups. There's neighborhood watch. But I realize with schools, you have that PTO meeting, and that's it, and everybody goes away. But feeling like you're a part of this parent force, like for 4 years, we're all going through this together. We're all parenting together for 4 years. We're all parenting together for 3 years. What have you.
And so this is within your church?
Yes, what I do.
Okay, how do we expand that model in a whole community where there's 500 sites in a subdivision or 600 in a mobile home park?
So we've asked about programming coming to the arts and youth and sports. One of the things that I thought about too was services, right? So we talk about parenting and, people have all kinds of reasons why they may have gaps and maybe they offer their parenting to their kids. But some of the things look like not having access to housing, right? Now schools are open, but they're open for certain hours of the day. A lot of people aren't available for those hours. So even like PTO meetings sometimes, right? They say parents don't go to PTO meetings. Well, if it's at 8 o'clock in the morning for a student counseling, parent improvement counseling meeting, I'm probably not going to be on it, right? And I'm going to and so when you start talking about how do you create access and meet people where they are, you have spaces like community centers where you can say, like, do we partner with local, therapists and counselors? Can we bring them in? Can we do group sessions? Can we partner with people who do resume help and help people find jobs? Because maybe part of the reason why I'm struggling as a parent because I'm so doggone tired every night because of how I'm working and don't have wages that support my lifestyle, right? So how do we create like holistic systems out here, but we can also deal with it if we deal with it, if we create space where people can actually speak up and tell us what's going on. And I think that's what needs to happen. We need to create that space and then meet them where they are with the services and accessible, whether that looks like affordability, whether that looks like, you mentioned infrastructure and transportation, those things, whether it's making sure they can even get to those things when they exist. And sometimes when we have certain privileges, we forget that not everybody does, right? And so I think it's just figuring out how we create access. We can create programs all day, but there are people who would take them up if they had access to them, right? And how we view access might look different than that. We can't just only say, well, they really wanted it, they would next right. Because that's not always everybody's story. So I think that's important. I think you have to go and ask people, make it. I just want to applaud you.
Thank you. Yeah, okay, so could I just cast my, wild, crazy vision, dream? In my bio, it was read that, at our church, I have the awesome privilege for almost now the last 10 years running our community development corporation. And so my big dream for that is that we would have this big building, preferably the Walmart that closed. I got my eyes on it. But we would have this big building. And these buildings would be located in central hubs of the community that are right off bus lines, that eliminates our transportation barrier. And that in this big warehouse or this big building are resources. So it's like the supermarket of community support. So if you need a therapist, then we have a therapist that we have partnered with that is here, and you can schedule an appointment. And we are open from 8 to 8. That would be able to meet the community needs. It's whether it's doctors, healthcare, parenting. I said it earlier, we've got to go back to being a community. And I grew up in a rural community, and I could literally walk next door and say, hey, can I have a cup of sugar? And I didn't have to worry about giving it back, right? Honestly, now I've worked out my challenges, but I could go to my neighbors and do that. But it was a while before I was like, I ain't asking for nothing. I'll just go to the Walmart, and that's real talk. But we have to go back to making communities where, yes, I'm concerned about you and your child, so that I'm a safe place, and I don't judge you. And those centers, the way I envision it, those centers, people would feel comfortable with jumping on the bus or getting in their car and coming to get those resources that they need. And I know it's big dreams and big visions, but what I do know is that council gets X amount of dollars to support nonprofits in their districts. And I could see me partnering with another council member and another council member to take our funds to start this. It might not be as large as a Walmart, but it might be something like this size of a building. And that's what community collaboration is about. It's not about my district, your district. It's crime in District 2, just like it is crime in District 7. How can we address it collaboratively to the point that when we figure out what's going on in District 2, then I can call that councilwoman or man and say, hey, I want to mimic that program over here. So I think that we really can work to do that. There's a question in the back.
Yes, I did not hear this one observation. I'd like to know what services you all might propose for the sandwich generation. So I am currently a primary caretaker for a parent, and you have to take care of children or you have to maintain your own family. So there are a different set of services for me as the caretaker as well as for the aging parent who still needs to go to the doctor, have some type of life, and then you've addressed the component of the young children or the family piece, but the primary caretaker and the aging parent or parents, I didn't hear that piece, and so I was wondering if you had any thoughts about what programs or services might be available?
Well, I guess I'll start, and I go back to my big dream. And in that big dream, those same services that a primary care, someone who's taking care of their parent, and in that parent, those services can be provided right there, whether it is, I watch my mother take care of my father and her mother at the same time. And then periodically, I would come and step in to help to take care of them. And it was very taxing, and it'll wear you out. And I would just, I'm talking about coming for a weekend. And, just so she can get a woosah, so she can get a break. And it was very taxing. So, I see this, I don't know what to call it, this super center of services where you take your mom to the doctor, and while she's being seen by the doctor, if they don't need you, then you're able to get some mental health, or something small as getting, a chair massage. People make fun of those massage chairs throughout the mall, but that's therapy for the man that's having to, wait for the woman to shop. It's meeting everyone's needs, and it's about meeting everyone's needs. So I think that, for me, I would like to know what's needed first, so that when we start putting these things out, because I think Taylor, you said it, and Faith said it, I think Paul said it, with the day of just creating programs to get money, and the day of creating programs just because we think it's a great day, a great thing to do, those days are done. And that's why spaces just like this is important, so that we don't miss it. Because we've got people that's been sitting on council for tens and tens of years, and they've lost hope. They've lost touch with you, the community. When's the last time you saw them? When's the last time you talked with them? So if you're not seeing them, you're not communicating with them, they don't know you. They don't know you're taking care of your mother. And I'm not going to say they don't care, but if I'm representing you, I might not know you personally, but I need to know what my community looks like. And so, I'm going to pull back from that, because I'll get on my serious soapbox about it. Another question.
So earlier you were talking about exposure. So I heard Pastor Chandler talk about sports, and then Faith talk about slam poetry. And I think so what can we do, and I know, like you said about parenting, it's also just about the exposure. So on two things is that exposing them to, no, she's not great in sports, but sports management, agents. I saw a meme, and it was talking about the amount of money that referees make in the NFL, and the little boy was like, oh, let me work this on my tip. You know how to call it. So it's that, and then the other part is they talk about from a parent point, it's sometimes shame. So one of my college friends, her son, like his senior year, they waited to the last minute. She has 4 friends that all have a master's degree, and she would not ask any of them for help until the very last minute on how to get him into college. So that was a point of, like you said, from a parenting standpoint, sometimes it could just come from shame because I don't want to ask. So if I have somebody, so how can we, kind of get the exposure of, yes, you like football, but, what can you do, kind of like the plan B. I think our generation, we were always taught like plan A and plan B. Not to say that you shouldn't go after plan A really, really hard for your dreams, but what else can that get you into, to expose them to different things of saying, okay, you like football, and here's are some of the other things. You like music, everybody wants to be in the limelight, so they think, but forget about the producer, the engineer, the sound man, who all make a good amount of money. So what can we do to expose them to the different options, besides doctor, lawyer, even though we need those too?
Yeah, so I think this may not directly answer your question, but I want to address both questions, I think. So one of the things I do care a lot about is kinship caregiving. And so for people who don't know, kinship care looks like, let's say, a grandmother, an aunt, uncle, somebody, a church member,
of youth in their family. And now they have this responsibility. And now, if they're removed through the system, they can now just very recently become licensed as foster care parents and get like some support, financial support to do this, right? But for the most part, people don't have like lumps of money sitting saying like, just in case I have to get these kids, I have this lump of money here. So what we find is like, they need someone to come and like take care of the children. Or sometimes they're taking care of a partner also or a parent, and they don't have like respite care to come in. What we found is not necessarily that these services don't exist or these organizations that support or do mentorship or exposure to opportunities don't exist. It's that there doesn't seem to be a central place for navigating these things, right? So like places like hubs that help you navigate, and not even necessarily in person, but we live in a technological age, but in this country, there doesn't seem to be a place where you could really go in and say, these are the things I'm looking for. How do I navigate to them? Because you know, some people, when you talk about shame, would much rather sit in front of a computer and figure it out. They can click some buttons and then make a call versus having to ask people. But I think what we're lacking in some respects is just like a navigation hub, and that's what we found out with kinship caregivers. They're saying, hey, you know, I might not be able to get Christmas presents this year. I don't have care. My child wants to go to summer camp, or my grandkid wants to go to summer camp, but we don't have funds to send them to summer camp. And there are literally organizations that support in this way, or even people who are willing to support, but to do the research and try to figure it out, when you're just trying to get from day to day, you don't have the time. But if there was something in place that would help people navigate these things, I think that too would, one, you know, help them get to the resources, but also develop a sense of self-efficacy, right? Like this idea that, like, yes, I can depend on my community and I'm part of the community, but there's something in me that can make things happen in my life as well. And I just think there's a gap there in having access to that particular resource in this county.
Yeah, and I think that we have, and it's almost as if our conversation has really gone back to just that human element. And we, in politics and in government, we have a tendency to just think laws, rules, regulations, and forget about people. It's great to think about people who are elected, but we need to go back to thinking about the people who elect these people. And it might be, you know, some of this conversation may be a little bit warm and fuzzy for the traditionalists who think about politics as normal. But one of the things that I just believe that the day of the traditional politician is over. This is not a career. This is an impact that we're making a statement that says that I will go to county council and sign off on laws and ordinance that directly impact my community and what my community needs. And so the only way you can do that is to not forget about that human element, to say, District 7, the vast majority of District 7 is in that age gap of, I think it was 45 to 63 or 69. That's huge. And so even though we spend a lot of time talking about children today, and we talked a lot of, you know, but there's that gap that, you know, there's gonna be that person like me that's gonna have to take care of her mother and still take care of my husband and my children. And I don't wanna have to try to figure out where to go for the resources, but having that hub that we can do that.
To specifically answer your question as well, for Benedict College, I don't know about any of the other schools, but we have built into our program of study service learning hours. And for our service learning hours, they can be fulfilled through the organization. I chose mentorship to do mentorship as well as several other organizations, but each organization on my campus, we how to build robots as well. And you saw that we built essentially a group of young individuals who would not otherwise pick up the robot, picked up those tools. They are now battling each other to see who's going to get the fastest code. So it's all about not only reaching out to the communities, but also parents and other individuals. I implore you to look at what's already available, because we have so many different programs and so many different things that we can allow to help our communities.
So I think that this is our second Voices and Viewpoints, and we're pledging as a campaign to go into the community and keep this conversation going. And as we continue to keep this conversation going, you know, I watched it was on the evening news, I think last week, and there was a gentleman who was blind, and he was teaching other blind individuals to rock climb. And you know, what it said to me was that I may not be able to see where I'm going, but as long as I have ears to hear, I can move forward. And that's what this Voices and Viewpoint is about. I may not know all the ins and outs of District 7, so therefore I can't really see what's going on, but I'm smart enough to have my ears open to the community so that we can move forward and we can climb this mountain together. Because it is time for our district to have an update. I love a good cliche. So with that cliche, you know, it's more about, we all have cell phones, right? Everybody got one? And you might wake up in the morning and it says, it's time for an update. It's just merely an update. It is not that you gotta throw away your phone. You just need to hit the update button. That's where we are as a district. That's where we are as a county. It's time for us to hit the update button. We're not gonna throw away all the great things that all the past elected officials have done, all the great things, but it's time for an update. It's time for a newer version of what we're doing, and these newer versions just help what already been done work a little bit better, work a little bit faster to get the results that we need. So I'm pledging to you that as the county councilwoman for District 7, that I'm gonna work with District 1, and I'm gonna work with District 8, and I'm with 2 and 9, and all the other districts to make sure that we get the update that we need as a county. It's important. Our children that we talked about all day long, all evening long, they're dependent on us to do something different. Because if we don't do something different, we're gonna continue to dig ourselves into, right now, $79 million of debt. That shouldn't be, I don't wanna leave that to my boys. We deserve better. We've got to do better. So I want you to join me and my team as we continue to move forward and do the things that are needed to be done in District 7. We've got an information sheet. We want you to join Team Barron. Sign in. We did phone banking last night. We're committed to doing phone banking every week until June the 9th. We're going to be canvassing our community. We're going to be knocking on doors. We're worshiping in the district. We're going to festivals. We're doing side street waves. We're doing everything that needs to be done because it's this space and it's the team space that we want you to see that knows that we're here right now, and then once we're elected, guess what? We're going to come right back to this room, and we're going to have another Voices and Viewpoint, and we're going to communicate with you what's been going on at the county council level so that you don't have to go dig for it. I'm going to bring it to you. And so I'm pledging to you. I'm here to serve you. I want to earn every vote, as many as we can, to make sure that come June 9th, no question about who your candidate's going to be, who the winner will be for on our side. So thank you all so much for joining us. Michelle's gonna come and give us a couple of little updates, and as she comes, we have no campaign cannot run effectively and efficiently without two things: people and funds. And so we do have some envelopes here, and we'd love for you to donate to our campaign. If you want to, you can do that in the privacy of your own home by going to GretchenBarron.com, and you can also register to be a volunteer as well as to give to our campaign. Thank you so much again for joining us. To the panelists, thank you all so much for joining me today.